Welcome to the Book Binge. I'm your host, King Crusoe. You can call me KC. And if you thought, or if I thought, either or, my reading in March was pathetic, I wasn't quite prepared for what April would bring. In fact, I kind of planned that April would be pretty bad, but it ended up being a lot worse than I even thought it would. Because, wow, April's been pathetic for my reading. This video is hardly worth posting. It's hardly worth recording with how little got done. But I figured I might as well post the brief update anyway, while I have the rare moment in time in order to actually produce it and then just get it up. Not going to be a super fancy one, not going to be a super detailed one, and also going to be a pretty short one because I just don't have the time to really do anything more than that. And because there's nothing really to talk about today anyway. So let's jump into things and see how my reading went in April and what reading I have planned in May, as funny as both of those concepts are to me in this moment. So the one single book that I got read in April, the one single book was The Path of Daggers by Robert Jordan. Now, in my defense, I actually got through this book super quickly over the first week. I think it was only 8 days or something like that I actually spent reading this book, where I just plowed through it, spent a ton of time reading early in the month because I had the time early in the month to do so, and boy am I glad I did that, because I do not have any time for the rest of the month to read basically anything at all. My work schedule for the back half of April, and which will last through the entirety of May, just absolutely insane, leaving me very tired, leaving me unable to really do anything afterwards. And I have another project that I've been needing to work on when I'm at home from work anyway, so I'm glad that I plowed through this before that, because, it ended up being enjoyable. I enjoyed this book a good bit. It's probably the weakest of the Wheel of Time books so far, talking about the actual book itself instead of my real life here. Path of Daggers is probably the weakest book in the series so far as I have read, but it is not my least favorite one. If you want a little bit more details about that, you can watch my reading diaries that I did on all the books of the series so far, although those are spoiler talks, so be warned of that. Otherwise, you can wait a little bit later this month. I believe it's only in a week and a half or something like that my actual review for The Path of Daggers comes out. I did a 2,800 word review on Goodreads for the book as well, so if you're curious for that, I believe my Goodreads account is linked in the description below and also in my channel, so if you want to check out that review, I'm pretty happy with that one. I went into enough detail that I felt like I actually did this book justice compared to some of the other books in the series where my reviews weren't quite as good as they optimally should have been, or that I would have liked for them to be. But either way, I enjoyed the book, which kind of takes us into the book of the month, because the only other thing that I've been doing up to this point, we can talk about in just a moment. Path of Daggers is by default my book of the month, and don't really have anything else to say about it. Is it really deserving of book of the month? I have no idea, because the other book that I had planned to read this month, I didn't end up getting around to. I didn't end up really getting to even plan to read because of freelance stuff. So it just never really happened. But Path of Dual Daggers is a decent book. I think it's probably overhated. I don't know if it's underrated. It's definitely overhated though. I enjoyed myself a good bit in spite of its flaws, in spite of its problems. It's a pretty decent book. As for this month's reads, what little do I have planned for April, or sorry, what little do I have planned for May, is working on the Empire of Silence Diamond Edition. So I did start reading this in April, actually. It got through the Delos arc, so not super far into the book, only about a quarter of the way through the book, but I got stalled a little bit while working on this because of freelance work, and I haven't been able to make any forward progress on this. As a result, it's kind of just sitting here right now. My goal is to get a good bit of the way through the rest of this book this month as far as I am able, but again, I don't really have much time or brain power to do that, so we'll see how good I'm able to do. I don't think it's going to be as much as I would like for it to, but if I could get through another, say 2/4 of it, another half of the book or so this month, I would be supremely proud of myself, because yeah, my brain is just completely busted. And I have not had as much free time in regards to being home from my crazy work schedule in order to work on reading or freelance or anything at this point. for a little while. It's been tougher than I had imagined it would be, and I had imagined it would be tough. So it's just kind of complicated. This month, my main goal is just to get through this, basically. That's the main thing. And you might be wondering why I'm prioritizing this over, say, the book that I'm about to talk about here in a second. But again, for personal reasons, I just felt like it was the right time to actually read The Empire of Silence Diamond Edition, and I'll explain a little bit more of that in due time. So that's what I'm working on in May. If I have time, however, let me just, go over and grab a book real quick. Oh, okay. This is the book that I was supposed to actually read in April, aside from Path of Daggers. This was the one that I was supposed to spend the back half of the month reading or so, or at least starting if I could, and I just haven't had the time to do so. In fact, my time has been so limited that I just put this right back on the shelf where it was before, because I can't even entertain the thought of reading it right now. I just don't have the time. But The Dead Zone is still the book that I would like to read if I had time, even though I know that I'm not going to have that this month. If I did, this is definitely what I would be picking up. If nothing else, this will be one of my top priorities to read in June. I'm still really looking forward to it, really looking forward to reading some more Stephen King, but right now I just don't really have the time or capability to do that at the moment. Feels weird, man. But that's okay, not the end of the world, but it certainly felt like maybe a portion of the end of the world with how terrible my reading progress was in April. At this point, my TBR that I had for the year, my tentative TBR, like my general TBR, whatever you want to call it, my broad scale plans for the year are completely borked now. Like, they were pretty borked just a couple months ago, but like they're not even close to accurate. And at this point, even some of the books that I said I will 100% be reading this year in a random video in December, I might not even have the time to read this year. Things are just not shaping up to be super great for me on that front. Once Overhaul is over, I ought to at least be able to make some forward progress again, and I'm really hoping that that happens. For now, however, my problem is mostly just that I had actually planned to have a review for The Dead Zone sometime halfway through this month, because I had anticipated that I would be able to read it and be finished with it, if not by now, then by very soon. So here in a couple weeks, I'm supposed to have a review of this coming out, and that's not happening. So there's one video slot for this month that is not filled, and I've only like one idea of how to fill it. We'll see if I have the time to actually do that. I have a good idea for how to fill that slot, but I'm not sure if it's going to happen quite properly. So yet another thing to have my fingers crossed about. Either way, thank you for watching this very short, very brief, and very bad video. If you did, I appreciate you for doing so. For now, I've been your host, King Crusoe. You can call me KC, and I hope to see you guys in any of the other videos this month, which will surely be a lot better than this one was.